Connecting the community through gospel. The new 107.9 FM, W300EB, Macon, and WDDO 980 AM, Perry, Macon.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of the broadcast.
It is now time for the live broadcast of the NAACP with GWENETTE, WESTBROOKS, and Mr. DUMAS.
And good evening and welcome to another segment of the NAACP Truth Show. I'm Willie Dumas, your host. We'll be joined shortly by President WESTBROOKS. And we're certainly happy you could join us this evening. We look forward to having a great show. We're in the month of February, and we're celebrating Black History Month. Thanks to Mr. Carter G. Woodson, all of us have an opportunity to pause and to reflect on the contributions of African Americans to society and to the world. And so we celebrate Black History Month in the month of February for that purpose. We know that Black history continues even beyond the month of February. Because each and every one of us as African Americans are yet writing the story of our contributions to this country. This weekend, I had a proud moment of being ordained as a deacon at the Union Baptist Church here locally in Macon. We had a great celebration along with myself and others who were ordained as well, and just had made for a long weekend, but a very nice weekend. The weather today, of course, is beautiful out there, and I hope you are enjoying it and taking the time to get out and to just enjoy the scenery and some of the things that are going on as far as Black history goes. Make sure you check your local publications as well as the news to see the various events around town that you can participate in as we celebrate Black History Month here in the month of February. Um, Today we have a special guest that's going to be joining us. They're going to be joining us on behalf of Black Voters Matters, that group who has been out there in the forefront, encouraging the African American community as well as other communities to get out and vote and to exercise that right. You know, that right that's been given that we have to actually vote for to make sure we have that right. And so we're looking forward to having them on the show to share some various things that are going on in the community. As we know, crime is yet a high topic for all of us here in the Macon area, in the Middle Georgia area. It seems we can't really get a grasp on that. Things keep happening in our city, of course, and we have to do all that we can to curtail violence, and that means you have to do your part as well. And so, just a lot of things on our plate as we muffle through the month of February. I do want to remind our gentlemen out there that Valentine's Day is right around the corner, and make sure you got those flowers, candies, and all those goodies that you want to give your special person on Valentine's Day. It's always a time of celebration of love, and that love can be spread not only through your loved ones, but through the community as well. We've got to love where we live and do the things that make our community better and make our neighborhoods better. One of those things that I've noticed is we can stop littering. You know, littering all across this community. I always have a problem with people bringing their trash and throwing it out and not, really cleaning up behind themselves. We can all do our part by using those things called litter baskets and putting that litter in those baskets so that we keep our community clean. And cleanliness is the closest thing to godliness, and so we want to keep our communities clean by not littering. Um, I think the new mayor, that was one of his pet peeves, making sure that blighted communities as well as a lot of trash and those kinds of things to help beautify this city of Macon. That's how we get industry and different businesses to come here when they've got a nice, beautiful city to live in. I see President Westbrooks has joined us.
Yes, good
Good
evening,
good
everyone.
evening. How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Wonderful. And so she's going to introduce our special guest that's going to be joining us today and talk about some really good things that are happening.
Yes, she should be calling in shortly. We sent her the link to come, but one of the discussions that we're going to be having today, which we plan on being there tomorrow, for people that was giving out water back in 2020 to people who were in line for to vote.
Wow.
They were arrested and they're being prosecuted. So they're supposed to. It was in Albany, but they're going to have the trial here in Macon, which will be at Mercer. I'll let her elaborate on it. Hopefully, I think they're going to probably may have the attorney online on the call also, but they will be coming on today to talk about that.
Wow.
They were prosecuted for giving out water. So we just want to be there for support ourselves. You know, people got to understand that this is just a form of voter suppression.
Absolutely.
A lot of times that people are in long lines to wait. Sometimes people, they get hot. They get, and a lot of times they're standing in line. They get frustrated. Sometimes they'll leave. being a long time. But that's just another form to deter people from voting, to prosecute people for giving out water. So
And to really, go forward on those kind of measures, I mean, it just shows the pettiness,
yeah,
of those kinds of
and it just
situations.
shows that just how important it is that we vote, because we don't need to have someone in office putting laws like this into place. Is basically meant for people of color. These laws that are put in place, because the thing about it is, um, if we get out and vote, we encourage people every day. That's one tool that we do have, that if we use it, we can be successful just about everything that we do when
Absolutely.
it comes to voting, because our power comes from voting. And so we just have to exercise our right. And what people don't understand is voting is something that we have not always had. We've had to fight. People have actually died,
Exactly.
and fought in court for our right to vote. And it's about education. I think if people, Laura, if you educate people on why we are here today, and why a lot of people think that they're just, even with their jobs. I talked to a young man, and he was talking about voting. He said, I don't vote. And I said, a lot of people talking about health insurance and all that. He said, well, I got good health insurance. But what people fail to realize, you didn't get this job by the fact that you may have been educated to get the job. You're in that position because people, our ancestors, fought for us to have equal rights, equal opportunity. So you didn't just get there by yourself. Like I said, it was a time that we weren't even allowed to vote. We couldn't vote. And so even after they passed the Voting Rights Act in 1965, we still were not, it wasn't just solid.
Right.
People had our voting rights expired every 20 years. And that's what people don't understand, that even though a law was passed for us to have the opportunity to vote, it wasn't something that was in concrete and set in stone. Why did we not have the same opportunity as any other race have? Why did we have to renew our voting rights every 20 years into the courts to prove that we needed to have accessibility to the polls, which just doesn't make sense. So it's just like a lot of other things that doesn't make sense when it comes to people of color.
It's
Um,
almost as if, they're waiting to do something totally different, as it relates to our race, as far as, um, having access to certain things, being able to do certain things.
right,
It's like uh, we're not really worthy of having 100% participation, 100% um, support as it relates to just life in general.
right,
And if people can't see that, that's an issue as well, because, we have to, they talk about the woke movement, being awake, the
right,
awakening of knowing when you're being discriminated against.
right.
Because many people are discriminated against daily and don't even know that's taking place.
No, and like I said, we get a lot of complaints with discriminations, and sometimes when we investigate, it's not discrimination. So people got to be educated also on
Right.
what discrimination is. And so this trial that is supposed to be taking place tomorrow here in Macon, I think they were convicted in Albany, but they're going to have it here in Macon. And I'm asking for all the members of the NAACP to be present at this hearing. We will wear our T-shirts at this hearing. Um, we want people to turn out for support, because this is something, I say again, it's a part of voter suppression. It's to deter people from voting. So if they start locking people up for giving out water, what does that say? It's just a form of voter suppression.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the most obvious, when you look at something like that, I mean, it becomes very obvious.
Yeah. So what
But
you're not telling people to vote for a certain person just because you give out water. We've even been had setups when people go and vote, and we normally talk to them before they go voting, or we don't give anybody anything in line, but something as simple as water. Always done that. So it's just like I said, another form of depression. But what we have to do is, that's why we have laws, and that's why we have attorneys and representations to um, have people that go into the courts and fight for something as petty is this, giving out
Exactly.
water. So they will start their trial tomorrow. And like I said, I'm asking for all members to be there to support these people that have been wrongfully prosecuted. So
Absolutely.
she should be on shortly, and she'll be able to, talk about it more in depth, hopefully. Another thing, this month is Black History Month, and we want to salute all of our ancestors who um, that made history. A lot of,
Absolutely.
you have a lot of Black inventors that invented a lot of different things. We um, want to give our thanks to those people. They've been talking about Rosa Parks a lot. I think about um, Dr. King.
Absolutely.
Different people that can have contributed to our country to make it where it is today. We just want to salute those people, and we're going to be doing uh, some different things on the show, asking questions, and we're going to be giving out $20 gift certificates to people that can answer the right question to our
Right.
Black History questions. And today we want to give out a $20 gift certificate, and I don't want to make it so easy, but I want, if someone can call in and tell us um, uh, who was Fannie Lou
Lou
Hammer.
Hammer.
If
Fannie Lou
someone
Hammer.
can call and tell us who she was and what role she played in during the civil rights movement. If someone can call in and give us that information, we have a $20 gift certificate for that person.
And the number you can dial is 478-250-1444 if you know the answer to that question. Once again, that number is 478-250-1444.
If you can call in and tell us what role Fannie Lou Hammer played during the civil rights movement and who is Fannie Lou Hammer. So, Mr. Dumas.
So I may call in on my cell phone.
$20 Visa gift certificate. So we're going to go into discussion until somebody calls in and give us some information and tell us who Fannie Lou Hammer is. We've been talking about the beating the death of lost my train of thought. The officers, the Black officers that beat his name was
Nichols.
Nichols. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about Nelson, but it's Nichols.
Mm-hmm. Tyree
and
Nichols.
It's just really sad to look at. And someone was telling me last night, one of our members was telling me last night, she would say someone told her, if you not to look at it, because a lot of times when you see something like that, it just sticks in your mind. And it
Right.
did mean, when I looked at it, it took me a couple of days to get it, just get it out, because it makes you angry.
Absolutely.
It makes you angry. But the thing about it, a lot of people are talking about, and even they should be prosecuted to the fullest. It was just no reason, no reason for that.
No.
I hope this family gets justice. It won't bring Mr. Nichols back, but I hope they get justice for their son and their family. But the thing about it is that a lot of people have been talking about that they wasted no time to prosecute these Black officers to get to fire them, and then and people have to be realistic that what we're talking about, because a lot of times if it was if they were white, it would have been they were suspended with pay until further investigation. But they were
but they acted real quick,
right.
A lot quicker than these other cases that
Right. Like I said, they're
been
normally
about.
suspended without pay or until further investigation, but that's not what happened. So, it's still we still have two justice systems when it comes to people of color and people of other races. We have two justice systems. So I'm glad they were terminated. They should have been terminated, but we gotta it has to be fair across the board. It shouldn't matter who you are. And I'm sorry, I got a phone call coming in, but Oh, I'm gonna hang that up.
Well, I think Attorney Ben Crump said it best when he said this should be the blueprint
Mm-hmm.
for cases that would, happen in the future, that they would act upon those
Right.
cases,
The
in that
same.
same
It's in that
speedily
same
manner.
manner.
Yeah,
Right. And so we just have to hold people accountable, Mr. Dumas. We just have to hold people accountable because it should not be a difference. They should not be handled. It doesn't matter whether they're in New York, whether they're in Georgia, whether they're in Alabama, whether they're in Mississippi, wherever. The justice is supposed to be blind. That's what they say.
absolutely.
And so it should not matter where, it should not matter what state is in. Justice needs to be fair across the board. Now we're waiting. I don't know. I don't know if you saw whether the young man that was an amputee, he was shot down by the police.
Wow.
It was in the media on the news last week, but he had stabbed someone, but he was in a wheelchair. He was an amputee.
Wow.
And so he was running away from the police, and both of his legs is amputated, and he was shot down and killed.
Wow.
Running away. The video, you can see it clearly on the video that they were not in any immediate danger, even though he had a knife. But what can a person who has an amputee do with? And he's running away, and I'm saying the officers was not in any immediate danger, even though he had stabbed someone. But we don't know what happened, and I'm pretty sure he probably took a knife out of protection because he is in a wheelchair and because he does have a disability. But I don't know. Sometimes people are trying to put some of this stuff on training, but and that may be the case in some situations because people that are like in mental health situations, we do have found that some officers are not trained in how to deal with mental health.
Right.
But we got to stop using that as an excuse all the time because some of it is not the training. Just like this task force that these officers had that killed Mr. Nichols. I just think it was something. It didn't have anything to do with training. And then we're hearing some other different things also that's going on with one of the officers may have known him or something like that.
Right.
So we got to stop using it as an excuse about the training. That's not always the situation. But I do want to say that all officers, we have some very good officers. I'm not going to put all officers in that same category. We do have good officers.
Right.
Some of them go the extra mile, and so we're not going to put every officer in the category. But we gotta wing out these bad seeds. A lot of these officers that have gone to this extreme, they've been disciplined before. They have something, and a lot of people are not aware that that's public record. You can request these officers' disciplinary files.
Right. And I think some of the things that came about from the discussion, that a lot of them talk about oversight as
Mm-hmm.
far as uh, direct supervision over these units,
Mm-hmm.
these special units like that
Mm-hmm.
Scorpion unit,
Mm-hmm.
that there was not enough oversight because these units develop a particular culture
Mm-hmm.
of doing pretty much what they want to do because they don't really have that oversight that's needed to make sure
Mm-hmm.
they're doing everything by
Right.
the book, and
Right.
those kinds of things because
Right.
they tend to have a lot of leeway,
Right.
when it comes to policing.
Right. But so we just gotta, long years ago, well, not long years ago, but I think it was back in 2012, we had a killing of a mental health man here, Junebug here,
Right.
back in 2012, and the officer shot and killed him, and and then we fought that. We actually protested, and the district attorney here, which was David Cook at the time, DA David Cook, made a decision not to prosecute him instead of letting it go before the grand jury, which that's when we made a decision to protest because it should have went before the grand jury to allow them to see whether or not there was enough evidence to actually charge this officer. And it wasn't too long after that he shot a dog or shot he went to a place, someone had called the police and he went there and he was shooting there.
Wow.
people that were complaining. He had so many, and when I pulled his file, he had so many complaints filed against him. And like I say, normally when officers go off the deep end like that, it's not just something that just started. It's
Right.
been there. They normally have had complaints filed against them, and they were basically just kind of swept under the rug. There was nothing ever done with it. There was no no disciplinary actions taking place. And someone that has that many complaints, you're not going to tell me, because it was quite a bit. You're talking about 20 something
Wow.
complaints. And even, normally when you have domestic violence situations, normally that's an automatic firing offense when you um, with domestic violence with officers. But nothing has ever happened to him.
Wow.
No disciplinary actions were taken out of all these complaints. So you're not going to tell me that when you look in an officer's file and he's got a lot of complaints, everybody can't be saying the same thing, because these people they don't know each other.
Right.
So when you got people saying the same thing, it's something you got to look into it and start making some decisions and as to what whether or not that officer should be on the force. And then a lot of times officer or discipline, they may get terminated. But if you don't make a file it with post, then they just go somewhere else and work and do the same thing. You got to fix it so that officer will never work in law enforcement again.
Right. Then when you look at a particular position that an officer holds, if he has a higher rank than some of his comrades, when they come on the scene, they're going to follow suit with whatever,
Right.
whatever techniques or whatever force that particular guy is using.
Right.
Then they're more apt to participate in that, in which
Yeah.
we saw that play out,
Right.
in that Nichols situation.
And it's something that we're going to be doing. I did it when I first came into office back in 2012. I did this, and I think it's something that we need to have on a regular basis. We will be having town hall meetings. With COVID is lifting up a little bit. COVID is still very much alive, you all.
Absolutely.
But it's not as bad. But we're going to start having some town hall meetings to discuss issues that the community is having, so we will know what direction we need to actually focus more on. I know we've had a lot of things going on with housing,
Right.
and I sat in on been to court several times. Actually, just about our last week and week before last. And so what I've been seeing a lot of. I was there in court, and Mr. Dumas, I'm telling you, I was just thrown away. And I actually went and pulled the file myself, because I couldn't believe it. That the housing authority would have filed for someone to be evicted for $10.19.
Wow.
So I just couldn't believe it. I went and pulled it myself, because I wanted to see that somebody paid $80 to evict somebody for $10.19. So
Wow.
and a lot of time people get upset with me. They say I'm practicing law, which I'm not. I just because I'm not ignorant of the law doesn't mean that I'm practicing law. But I'm just so furious of the way that the judges, that how they're handling these cases with probationers, with housing. And it just seemed like they're not even listening to the probationer. They're not listening to it just seemed like the system is set up to automatically
Go with whatever the
landlord
landlord is saying.
says. And,
Yeah.
and you sit there and it's just like they're not even hearing what you said. Their mind is already made up. So then, this thing about this key, this $10.19, they the judge asked whether or not, this is all that they owe. And I even asked, talked to the young lady. I'm like, you $10.19, did you not have $10.19? And now you can't judge people because you don't know what people's situations are.
Correct.
And so I just wanted to talk to her to kind of understand. And we talking about $10.19. Like she said, I just didn't have it, but I had it today. She had it today in court, and she had the court calls. But then at the same time, when that was clear, she said, I got the money, I can pay it right now. Then they want to bring up something else. And so my situation, my concern with that was the judge should not allow her to talk about anything else but that $10.19, because that's
Right.
what she
That's
filed
what
the
it was
eviction
there
for.
for. Right.
So anything other than that, something about trash around the apartment, that her gas, you know, utilities off, that should have been another complaint filed. That shouldn't have happened that day.
Right.
That's another whole different complaint that was not part of the complaint that you filed. So the judges, they supposed to know the law, but for some reason they act like they are ignorant to the law.
Wow.
And so we're gonna be more visible in these courtrooms, listen to these cases. Judges are voted in, but there is a judicial disqualification that oversees these judges, and we have to um, take note of what's going on in these courtrooms.
Right. Because if not, I mean, they'll continue. And if we always say that it's the squeaky wheel that gets the oil, and if nothing's ever said, they continue.
Right, right,
Case after case.
right. That's true. Um, so we was waiting to see was she gonna didn't want to start on another conversation. Um, but we'll go ahead on. We was thinking that she would be on call in by now. I know
Absolutely.
she had another meeting, to my understanding, so hopefully she'll get in on this call so we can talk about this trial for starting tomorrow. Um,
And I'm just wondering how many violations were there in those particular cases.
I don't know, but I know it's 4 people that they have brought charges against
Wow.
for this giving out water that they've charged. It is ridiculous. I'm telling you,
Wow.
we really, they really need to start. That's like I say, people. We're gonna have to go back to things that, we may have to start protesting and marches, and no matter how long it take,
Right.
for somebody to get somebody's attention, because this is crazy. They made this law, and it's crazy. They're trying to take us back, and so we just gotta. I don't think it's gonna be no going back.
No, not without a fight, but that's one of the things that, we've been reiterating to our young folks, younger generation, that they're going to have to be those voices. Our voices at some point will dim, as time goes on, and somebody else has to pick up that megaphone and continue to,
Right,
voice the same concerns that we have,
right.
because a lot of it will get lost in the mix, and
Mhm.
eventually you find yourself trying to regain ground,
Right,
because
right,
we tend to be losing a lot of ground
right.
as it relates to civil rights. And so,
Mr. Dumas, and I want to congratulate you also on your Mr. Dumas here is our first vice president of the NACP, and he was ordained on yesterday as a deacon at his church, Union Baptist.
absolutely.
Pastor Reverend David Stanley
Right.
is the pastor there. So congratulations to you in your position as a deacon
Thank
um,
you.
of the Union Baptist Church. That's
Absolutely.
a big role.
Absolutely. A lot of work,
Yeah, it is.
but somebody's got to do it, I guess.
Yes. Well, like I say, we congratulate you on your appointment as a deacon. We do need those. They're in every church, so we want to
Absolutely.
congratulate you on that. And then also your wife takes the role as deaconess.
Deaconess.
So yeah,
Absolutely. So she's got to be that leaning post.
yes, yes. And like I said, congratulations again. Um, what we February the 12th is Founders Day for the NACP. The organization was founded on February the 12th, 1909, the NACP. We will be set up, and that was someone calling me back while we were on the show, and I may need to try to call them back right quick um, to announce our location, but we can do that on some other shows. We can get ask Elaine to announce it. But we're gonna be setting up. We're gonna be soliciting memberships. We need your support. Memberships is only $30 $30 annually to join. We have a lot of work to do. We have different committees. We have housing, education, political action, which deals with voting. We have labor and industry, which normally deals with employment issues. We have health. We have housing. We have different committees that um, we need people to be to work in, to help with the different complaints that come in.
Absolutely.
And so we will be setting up. We're asking for people to join. The fee is only $30 a year. We need your membership, and we need you to come in and work to help us. Make sure that you know these places are there's no injustice and people are being treated fair in these positions. We have our criminal justice department committee where we, like I said, we've been actually going in, sitting in the courtrooms, listening to these cases to make sure that the probation officers, the judges, or there's fairness in these cases. So if not, then there's other remedies that we can take to ensure that these the people that go into this courtroom, because that's one of the rights that they do have. They do have the rights to fairness in our court system.
Connecting the community through gospel. The new 107.9 FM, W300EB, Macon, and WDDO 980 AM, Perry, Macon. Glover Memorial Mortuary, located at 3241 Houston Avenue in South Macon, serving you and those you love with a personal touch is their motto for service. Sympathy, understanding, compassion, patience, and discounts available to lighten your financial burden. Dr. Walter Glover and staff are here to serve you and your family with a personal touch. They specialize in prenatal